Okay, first of all, I'm really happy to be here and honored to talk to such an audience. As you just heard, I am an Air Force officer, and I'm also an engineer. And that puts me in the very, very uncomfortable position to try to provide the operational perspective to an engineering company. And this is not an easy job, as you can imagine, I can assure you, because, first of all, engineers are a pain in the ass, myself included. Second thing is that scenarios are getting more and more complex, including a wider than ever variety of assets, of capabilities, of domains, and of doctrines. So let me show you briefly a small video that maybe many of you have already seen.
And again, if you don't think this is visionary, right now in Syria, we're in the most aggressive EW environment on the planet from our adversaries. They're testing us every day, knocking our communications down, disabling our AC-130s, et cetera.
So what was that? Was that traditional EW? Was that a dummy but powerful communication jammer? Was that a more elaborate cyber structured attack? Does it really matter? What really matters is that the asset was disabled, that the capability was degraded. So this is what we are facing now, a new concept of not knowing exactly what has caused the effect that we are seeing. We are seeing a degradation of a capability. We are seeing a degradation of an asset, a neutralization of a platform. But we're not sure what caused that, if it's a standard approach, if it's a hybrid approach, if it's a more structured and strategical cyber, maybe, approach. So these new concepts are definitely now in front of us. And the key points of this new hybrid warfare approach are here, are in front of us. First of all, faster communication. Everything is requiring a wider band. We want to cooperate with platforms. We want data to flow among assets. That means a strong need of bandwidth, as a matter of fact. Cutting-edge technology that can be designed by yourself, can be proprietary, can be commercial off the shelf, but still it's the technology that we are exploiting. And when we say technology, it's not only hardware, it's of course also the payload that we are putting into our assets. The battlefields that can be physical, virtual, or even overlapped. So the keywords that are now in front of us, it's first of all net-centric or network-based, cyber, we are here for this, and unmanned. As a matter of fact, there is one key target, which is the information. So this is the holy grail of the new scenarios. And when we say scenarios, we are meaning every kind of daily life aspect, as well as a battlefield operational scenario. Information is the target that you want to dominate. Therefore, there is a common ground where all these aspects meet. There is the spectrum. Electromagnetic spectrum is definitely the common ground where all these points are merging together into one single complex scenario. And this is where actually electronic warfare meets cyber. The two categories has been kept separate for a while. There was the electronic warfare operator that was doing his job maybe at 30,000 feet behind a console. And then there was the cyber warrior, somewhere in the world, dispersed into the network and in the cloud. But now these two domains are definitely merged. And this is not a case, because, as I said, the electromagnetic spectrum is the common ground for all the activities that we want to carry out in all the aspects of operational life. So this opens up to new kind of opportunities and vulnerabilities. They are always both sides of the story. So the challenge now here is to synchronize the cyber operation with the electronic warfare. Yesterday, I heard an interesting note from Mr. Moore from the King's College. He was, I don't know if he's present in the room. It was interesting to see the difference between the two domains. One was the event-based domain, so weapon and reaction. And then the other one is the presence-based domain, so where there is the network, there is the presence of the asset, maybe of the payload that you want, but you don't know physically where it is. So this is exactly where the two domains are merging together. So you want to, as a matter of fact, to use one as an asset for the other. So a event-based approach delivering a presence-based payload. And this is the shift of the paradigm that you can see. There was this traditional warfare based on spectrum, as a matter of fact, so mostly physical layer. The hybrid warfare, spectrum and network-based. So we are not only facing one single opponent, a physical opponent, but there is a distributed opponent that we have to face still on this kind of domain. And then the CEMA, cyber electromagnetic activities, that is involving all the three aspects, including the cyber warfare. Therefore, from a solution provider point of view, cyber electromagnetic warfare means that you have to master all the aspects in order to be able to synchronize and coordinate offensive, defensive, intelligence across the electromagnetic environment and cyberspace. This means that, as a matter of fact, you need to escalate the layers of the information environment. As we said, information dominance is what you want to achieve in all the aspects of your operational life. And this can be done through steps into the layers. The physical layer is the traditional EW, let's say. Let's simplify like this. So you have signals, you have countermeasures, you have analysis of the content of the signal. Infrastructural, so you want to enter the network. Cognitive, you want to enter the content. You want to enter the functions of the network. So this kind of steps is the real holy grail that you are following when we're talking about CEMA. And to do this, you need to master all the layers that are in between, physically, technologically, and structurally from the structural point of view. So the cycle of cyber electromagnetic activity is, as a matter of fact, is similar to the more standard operation. Still, you need to have your intel, you need to have your data gathering with even some, of course, when we say traditional, is not to diminish the value of that. Traditional means a more, let's say, familiar approach when you collect data from maybe an ELINT or a SIGINT operation. But still, you have to face new tasks, big data analysis, reverse engineering, cryptanalysis. This means that you not only need to know the signal, not only need to identify the emitter that you are facing, but you need to understand how it works. You need to understand what it is. You need to understand how you can exploit its vulnerability, if any. The preparation, therefore, takes into account all this aspect that you have studied in the previous phase. So you're still following a planning, you're still preparing platforms and, let's say, jamming activities, but the cyber payload that you are delivering is something that has been tailored for that target. So this is what I said before, trying to match I like the definition of a event-based domain with a presence-based domain. So you need to match a payload that is based on the presence into the network with a tactical operation delivering a signal. Okay? So this is the real challenge. And how you do simulate that? To simulate that, you need to master all these kind of aspects. So all the physical layer, all the infrastructural layer, and the cognitive layer as well. The execution, of course, takes into account this kind of approach in order to build up this layer from the jamming point of view. We're always talking about jamming. Remember, when in the traditional EW, when you say jamming, you mean to degrade the enemy, the opponent signal. But in this case, jamming means deliver a payload. Maybe you are still degrading the opponent signals, but you are delivering a payload instead. So starting from the beginning, does it really matter if you delivered a jamming signal or you delivered a jamming signal plus a payload? This is the question. So in order to provide cyber electromagnetic activities, there are 3 key points, 3 key steps that need to be mastered. First of all is knowledge. Knowledge means, first of all, a change of the mindset. So the mindset needs to be completely unconventional compared to the traditional approach, because you have a, let's say, conventional physical layer-based network warfare, and then you have an unconventional cyber domain that you have to exploit. So this means that you have to educate, first of all, the people, and you have to train. You have to train a lot. Train, first of all, to the approach that is no silver bullet, that needs a lot of study, a lot of preparation, a lot of reverse engineering, as I said before. And the technology that is the base for all these kind of aspects. From when I say technology, of course, I am talking about hardware, firmware, software, and malware. So we are facing all the aspects of the technology, and it's still a technology. As a matter of fact, a cyber payload is a technology. So what you have to do is to master all these aspects, try to synchronize also this aspect, not from in a synchronization, not in the time domain, but in the functional domain. And in order to be able to deliver something that is effective at that time for that operation. So you see how the aspects are complex and are merging together. So the cyber resilience is as a matter of fact, a natural consequence of all these concepts. If you are mastering, let's say, the deliver of a payload, of a cyber payload exploiting the opponent vulnerabilities, you know how to protect yourself, or you have studied, you are designing your systems in order to be protected. So this is a key point. It's quite an easy bullet to say, but it's a radical change in all the aspects of the product life cycle, starting from the very beginning, from the design point of view. So there is a big, strong shift, not only in the doctrines, not only in the tactics, not only in the technology, but also in the design approach. And from an industrial point of view, changing the mindset and changing the approach to designing such kind of things is a strong effort, because it requires a completely shift of the path that you have followed previously. So definitely cyber resilience is including all the aspects that were mentioned before, and it's, as a matter of fact, the summarization of all the cyber electromagnetic activities, including protection of your own assets. I think this concludes pretty much my presentation, and I'm open to questions.
Thank you. Yes,
Thank you very much.
Kind of appreciation for you. And do we have any questions from the audience? Okay, I can see one hand back there. Can you raise your hand once again?
The lights are...
Blinding.
Yes. Ricardo Sibiglia, Swiss Armed Forces. Trying to joining the electronic warfare and cyber domain may have some challenges from an industrial point of view as well. Electronic warfare is a domain where industry is quite strong, where armies more or less buy products from the industry, which are more or less turnkey. And cyber is a domain where there is a lot of brainware going in from the armed forces themselves. So I think industry shall have an approach where the electronic warfare platforms may be more open to inclusion of knowledge and innovation from armed forces themselves. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, I have to say that this work, joint work together between armed force as industry is nowadays essential in all the aspects, even in the traditional EW, because now the traditional EW, let's call it traditional, once again, not to diminish it, but the traditional EW is facing an all new kind of traditional threats. Therefore, and when I say traditional threats means network-based threat, as a matter of fact. So still, you don't have anymore one threat and one asset and one countermeasure to counteract this threat. You have a variety of threats to be faced, or a variety of assets to be confronted with. So you have to face this kind of issues. Therefore, the support of the armed force is essential more than ever. That being said, from a cyber point of view, this is even more important, because, as I said, what you have to do is to synchronize something that is not time-based, so it's a network-based approach, into a tactical platform, into something that is actually on action. So to do that, you definitely need your help, and this is not only from a technical point of view, it's also from an operational point of view. Otherwise, you won't be effective. So this is yeah, I agree with you, it's a strong effort that needs to be done jointly. Definitely. Thank you.
Any more questions? In this case, thank you for the fascinating keynote.
Thank you very much.
And we will proceed. Thanks.